Hey there, YouTube. Looks like we have made it to the end of another week. I'm sure a lot of people are happy about that. And hopefully you got some fun weekend plans. Get outside, enjoy this weather a little bit, if you're somewhere where the weather is nice, of course. But today I thought we would talk about digestion. Now, before I came to plant-based diet, or before I started eating a plant-based diet, I didn't have any digestive disorders. I didn't have anything major. It was just, kind of went probably through what a lot of typical people do. From time to time, you get acid indigestion. You eat Tums. You eat those antacids. From time to time, your stomach gets, you have bowel problems of one way or the other, and I can always trace those back to the things that I was eating at the time, because I haven't dealt with hardly anything since I've been plant-based. But I can definitely just tell, like, now my digestion is just not even something I think about. It's just by the way I eat. I stay regular all the time. None of that indigestion and heartburn and something. I forgot what it was. It was probably after I'd eaten at a restaurant or something, a vegan restaurant. But there was one time in the last couple of years where I do remember kind of getting a little bit of a case of indigestion. I'm like, oh my God, this is horrible. How do people deal with this on a daily basis? So I just wanted to, talk about that a little bit today. And once again, I'm going to point you to some different resources. Now, of course, I'm going to I'm going to definitely advise you go read Dr. Will Bulsiewicz's book, Fiber Fueled, or go listen to any of the many talks that he's been on podcast and on YouTube. But since I'm always talking about Dr. B, I've got a couple of other doctors I'll talk about here in a little bit as well. But one thing, and sometimes people will make comments on some of the food that I'm eating or about different things, and I'm like, no, well, you're kind of throwing the baby out with the bathwater when people say, oh, well, I can't eat this or I can't eat that. A lot of times that will be with the cruciferous vegetables. A lot of times that will be with the legumes, the beans. And people say, oh my God, I could never eat that. I'd be bloated. I would have gas. I would have this or that. And a lot of times, even people that deal with, major serious issues like ulcerative colitis and with Crohn's, there's certain things that are very irritating to their stomach. And a lot of those things, which are actually healthful foods to people that don't have this problem, they just cut out completely and say, well, this is something I'm not going to eat for the rest of my life. And a lot of times people will do that just simply because a certain food in the past has caused them some gas or caused them some bloating. And I remember one particular talk I listened to with Dr. Bulsiewicz. This has been a couple of years ago, and he's actually probably talked about it more than once, but that's not the answer to just throw those certain foods out, to not have any broccoli because sometimes it causes you to be bloated, or not to eat any legumes because it's going to mess up your stomach. Those foods that can be troublesome for people can also, once they've worked through their digestive issues, they can be introduced, or sometimes if they're not super serious digestive issues, they can just be like, like he talked about, like people starting with like a tablespoon. Like maybe you chop your broccoli up or something and you eat a little bit. Same thing with the legumes. You don't start off. Somebody asked me that recently about all the fiber that I was consuming. Well, no, you wouldn't want to go from a standard American diet to the amount of fiber probably that I take in overnight, because it would overwhelm your stomach. It would clog you up, because you've kind of got to get used to that. You've got to get used to the fiber. You've got to get used to these foods. But once you get there, it's like, no, I can eat. Like I think the meal that somebody had commented on, like I'll often have like beans in a meal, and I'll be showing some cruciferous with it. I think I had some beans and broccoli, might have even have Brussels sprouts on the same day, and somebody was like, oh my God, I could never do something like that. Now, as far as serious issues are concerned, like the ulcerative colitis and the Crohn's disease, I think people still, there is hope. And I'm not going to ever say, oh, this will cure it, this will do this will do that. Everybody's mileage will vary. But if you're actually working with somebody and using a strategy, I've seen cases. I actually knew somebody personally that had kind of reversed or put their ulcerative colitis in remission. Just because there are certain, now that is not something that you just want to go talk to your average YouTuber on. You definitely want somebody that's professional on this that can help you kind of get through the whole, like that kind of stuff. Same with irritable bowel syndrome. Some of those things, they're a little bit more complicated than just what I'm putting in, what I'm putting out. A lot of times there has to be a little bit of the healing of that gut going on. But highly, highly, highly recommend that you read the book Fiber Fueled. There are so many people out there that eat this lifestyle, they struggle, and they've never read one book. This is great. I appreciate you coming here, but I should never be, like, I'm always pointing in other directions. I should never be your main source, end all, be all of information. So, you know, read a book. And I'm going to recommend 2 more people, 2 more books, and all of these books are under $20. $20 one time, buy it. A lot of them are, you can get on Kindle for $11.99, $12.99. And reading does something, you know, when you actually read the written word, it tends to sink in a little bit deeper. Now, there's another woman I've listened to several of times on the podcast, and I follow her on Instagram as well, Dr. Robin Chutkan. I hope I'm pronouncing that last name right. Dr. Robin Chutkan, who wrote the book Gut Bliss. You might relate to her, you know, from her standpoint. Although, Dr. Robin Chutkan, Gut Bliss, and then also Dr. Alan Desmond, and he's got a book out called the Plant-Based Diet Revolution. It doesn't have gut in there, but it kind of focuses, I think it focuses more on their gut health than anything else. But one thing from listening to all these doctors speak, they don't all say the exact same thing. They don't parrot each other 100%, but they kind of confirm the main points of it. They all have these, okay, this is this, is this, is this. So, you know, I would say recommend read one of these books, read all of these books. I mean, even if you read all the books, you're probably, I think one was $11.99, $14.99. You're talking about $50 or so. You're getting a great education of 3 books. Or always check with your public library. You know, they have they're wonderful sources of not having to spend money on Amazon. But once again, that's why, like the gut health and the digestion, that's why I'm always, even on all videos, especially when I'm talking about food or showing some food, I'm always stressing the diversity and the amount of different plants I try to get in, and not just eating one thing all the time, but like mixing it up, because that feeds our gut microbiome and just eventually makes it stronger. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video today. If you like it, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribe to the channel, and have a beautiful weekend. Peace.